the text from my partner telling me a mistake I'd made. Thank you, partner. Yes, okay. Emergency is over. Emergency is done. Yes. Okay, so now I just tell you how it works. If you want to ask me a question, then you do you do so through Skype. My Skype address is Lisa Cairns 12. You can find the address below if you don't remember that. So you befriend me and then you can ask me questions on Skype. Yes. That's all the news. Oh yeah, and if you like seeing my videos edited rather than like me doing them live like I do, then there's another channel called Lisa Cairns Video Clips. It's not run by me, it's run by somebody else. You can find the link in the box below. And yeah, if you enjoy those videos, you're very welcome to donate to the person that does them, because they do it all out of the goodness of their heart. They get nothing from it. That's Osborne. So I don't know if he has a donate button. That's all I can think of to say. Okay, so we'll start with the meditation. So in this meditation, like first of all, number one, when you meditate, you believe you're meditating. You believe you're someone and that you are meditating. And I would just ask you to question, who is this one that meditates? So it feels like it's your free will to meditate. And it feels like you're somebody going in time that's going to arrive at enlightenment through meditation. But this is all the story that you're telling yourself. And if you pay attention, there's something a lot deeper happening. It's actually maybe not even you paying attention. It's just when attention is, then there is something much deeper revealed, this beingness, this presence, which is beyond you getting to, you arriving, you achieving, you feeling, you wanting, you having. It's just here and present. So when we meditate, know that in actuality, I'm not giving a prescription. That's an impossibility, because who would I be prescribing to? Who am I and who are you? Really what's happening is there is a description of something that can happen, which might affect that body, or it might not. So that body might do it or might not do it. And whichever the case, it's perfect, and it's not in anybody's hands. It is in life's hands. So that's the disclaimer that I give before I do the meditation. Now I'm going to describe different meditation techniques that you can use, knowing that there's not anyone that's doing it, and that this isn't going to bring you to enlightenment, because who would it bring to enlightenment? If you're going to then ask, well, what's the point in doing it because I'm here for enlightenment? The point in doing it is settling down the person. And as the person becomes more settled, then we can speak more about the non-duality, which is, I think, the way they always taught it traditionally. In India, is that you do all these practices beforehand to settle down, and then the guru comes in and then hits them with the hard stuff. Like, it's because if you're really suffering, like sometimes people can really suffer and have a spontaneous awakening, like there is a surrender and big pop. But often what happens for most people is that it's a gradual process of the person settling down before non-dualities begins to be heard. Because if you're really contracted and you're really suffering, then like hearing how wonderful this moment is and hearing that this moment is the freedom, it's kind of like an insult to the person. It makes no sense. It's like you're attacking the person in a way, because that person that can't hear that at all. So often that contraction has to be relaxed to an extent, and then the light gets in. You could think of it like clouds, like the sun is always shining. The sun is always there, it even comes through the clouds, but the person is like really dense. When it's really suffering, it's like really dense clouds, and it's like really like packed. I don't know if you've ever flown up in any of those clouds. I have, because England is very cloudy, and they go on forever. You're going through them, and then when you get to the top, it's really beautiful because you get all these like epic clouds that are in like really amazing and beautiful and spectacular positions, but it's really thick. And on the ground, it seems like there's less light, and then up top it's like more light, but the light is still going through the clouds, otherwise it would be pitch black. And the light is always there, the light is always shining, and it's almost like settling down the person as the clouds becoming less dense, and then there's like holes that break through. But again, that like makes it sound like you've got to do something in order to arrive somewhere, but that is a story. I promise you that's a story. Like really, everything that I'm saying about that is not true, but it's just trying to give you a perspective on it. Like, so there's not really someone that's going to get to enlightenment. Like, who is this someone that's going to get there? But anyway, we start the meditation now before I talk. So, let's start. So there's a couple of meditation techniques that I suggest. So one is that you just sit there and you really don't do anything. So you don't try to focus your mind or fix your mind or stop your mind. You just let your mind think. So this is called just sitting, surprisingly enough. So you just sit there and present yourself, and then let the mind settle. And the theory is, I suppose, is it's like if you've got like a lake and all the mud is like really busy and active, so the whole lake is really muddy. Like if you stop moving, then the mud will settle down and the lake will become clear again. So I presume that's the theory, but just sitting. But again, that's giving you like an orientation, like, yes, I'm going to arrive somewhere. It's always the person like me, I'm going to arrive. The next that I recommend is called the mindfulness of breathing, which is putting your attention on your breath and counting up to number 10 every time you breathe in. So 1 when you breathe in, then the next breath 2, the next breath in 3, 4, all the way up to number 10, and that's called the mindfulness of breathing. So you're just paying attention to your breath. And no worries if you go up to like 900 because you lose focus, because your mind can count automatically. That's okay. It's just every time you come back to 1, that's a celebration, no matter what number you got up to. So that's number 2. And number 3 is putting your attention back in presence. So just feeling presence, like so every time your mind wanders off, you just move it back into the I am or to consciousness. Just being incredibly present. Okay, so we shall begin. Just because you're not used to this, I shall warn you there is a gong. Remember I said I was going to get a gong. That's going to come. Okay, so now you can start meditating. My partner just said the gong didn't work. Okay, we tried. Okay. I would play the bell now, but apparently it doesn't work. Dong. There. I animated it. Don't think that's the right word. Okay, are we still going? Yes, we are going. Okay. So what was the title of the talk again? What do teachers mean when they say not knowing as opposed to knowing? Yeah, that's super confusing. Like, why all these words, eh? So everything is known. Teachers will say, like, all of this is known. And then people will say this is absolute not knowing. What a confusing thing, eh? So what I mean, I can't speak for everyone, like all teachers most probably have a different way of speaking. What I mean when I say it is that like everything is not knowing, like right here, presence doesn't know things in time. Like I used to call it like the bozo effect, because presence knows nothing. And when you're really deeply in presence, like there's nothing that's known intellectually or in ideas or in images. It's just present. It's just conscious. It has no color, it has no form, it has no words, it has no ideas, it has no ways of being. It is just awake and present. The bozo effect. So I just closed the window. Whereas when they say it's known, is that everything's known, they're then referring to consciousness. So when you say it's not knowing, they're referring to like beyond the thinking mind, like everything is not knowing. And then when they say knowing, like everything is known, like everything is perceived, like you're looking at me right now and you're intellectually interpreting me. But then there's also another part that knows this is happening, that is awake and alive, knows this is happening. And that you could call knowing or consciousness. Some people call it awareness. I normally say personal awareness, which is the ability to move the camera. Like, yeah. And when people are talking about being in the present moment, what they're talking about is putting the personal awareness in the present moment, in consciousness. And then this is stopping the thinking mind going off into time so much, which can actually be really great for the body and really healthy. But just realize that's still someone doing something. That's still someone in activity. But I actually recommend people to do it because I think it's super healthy for your body. It's super good for your body. But that's still an activity of the mind. Like, who does that? But you can feel it when you do it. Like I do it too. If I've got pain, I'll bring intense consciousness to it. Like put my attention there. So yeah. So who knows it? So right now there is consciousness, and when I say consciousness, I mean like the consciousness as opposed to being like unconscious. I don't mean like in the psychology. So at night, you could say that you lose consciousness, but actually you don't lose consciousness. What happens is there is no perception of time happening. So you could say all the senses are shut down and then there's no perception of time that happens. So there's nothing that's there. So you could say it's also consciousness, conscious of nothing, or consciousness aware of nothing, knowing nothing. So it's like, you could say it's in a state of rest, but that is like no time. So your experience of sleep is like falling asleep and waking up again. When you wake up again, like the world comes back in, like everything comes back in. And that what happens in that waking up is actually what happens is there is consciousness conscious of nothing. And that is nothing, that is non-existence in a way. So then things come back in, and then the consciousness has things to be conscious of, and so therefore it's like there's experience again. And you don't do anything to turn that consciousness on. Like, so most people think they're conscious, but actually the consciousness is there, then the things begin to come in, and then you begin to come in, your life, your world, your dreams, your thoughts, and then you think you're conscious, whereas actually the consciousness is always there. It's happening now when I'm speaking. So your personal awareness may be focused on me. So it may be focusing on me. But the actual personal awareness, so the personal awareness is focusing on me, but the actual personal awareness, there is something that's being conscious of it. Like it's known, that there is a knowing of focusing on me. There is a knowing of your movement down to the computer, the keypad. There is also a consciousness of the wall, even though you're not thinking about the wall and you're not focusing on it. It's just known instantaneously. Like everything is known, like you're not doing any effort to know me clicking. It happens instantaneously without any time. And this is your essence, and the consciousness actually doesn't exist as a thing. You could say there is simply everything which is conscious. And that consciousness is not a thing. It's nothing, 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 nothing. Yet it's all things. There's some people even say, which I like, this is a bridge between no thing and everything. Consciousness is the bridge between both worlds. I like that. But it's also not true, it's also words. That the only truth of non-duality is presence, is in the present moment, is in the not knowing, which is kind of crazy because it sounds like I'm saying know something and you'll get non-duality. But it's actually in the direct experience of not knowing. Like, and everything is not known here. It's known, it's appearing, but it's also not known. Like your mind projects that I'm something and it makes me into a form. I'm good, I'm bad, I'm right, I'm wrong, I'm liked, I'm not liked, I'm happy, I'm sad. And then you think you know me, but actually beyond that thinking mind, there is just mystery. It's absolutely not known. You don't know what I am, you don't know where I came from, you don't know what I'm doing. I just am. And that amness, that presence, that aliveness, that what I am isn't separate from yourself. So beyond the thinking mind, beyond the knowing in time, the knowing in thoughts, beyond that to the unknowing, the not knowing, I am you and you are me. Or life is itself. However you want to use your words. So when you're identified with the mind and with the body, then there's seeking that arises. Like, so when you're identified with something, then there is a sense of lack that arises because it's not true. It's not your essence. So there's always a discomfort in doing that. It's like a lie that you're telling yourself. But more importantly, it's energetically. You feel constrained. Whereas energetically, whatever that means, that's used in so many different ways, energetically, your essence is everywhere and all things. Like everything is you. Everything. Not you as the person, you as your essence, you as consciousness. And then there is a limitation energetically, so it's kind of like, it feels like that consciousness has shrunk and like been put inside the body, but that's not really what's happened. It's just like an energetic energy that rises in the body. And then the person is taught and believes that pleasure is my freedom and pain is my cage. And I have to work in this life to achieve pleasure in the future. And when I arrive in the future at this pleasure, I then will be able to relax. And I must avoid all these potential dangers and painful situations because they are my cage. They will take away my freedom. Whereas nothing takes away your freedom. Your freedom is that which is watching and experiencing. It's not found in form. And this confusion of humanity is what leads humanity into darkness. It's what makes our society dark. It's what creates hatred. It doesn't necessarily stop other feelings. Some of them are natural, but hatred I don't think is a natural state. Like, I don't think a dog has hatred. Like, I don't know if I experience hatred anymore. I can experience anger with people or hurt with people. Like, if something happens, I can feel hurt or angry. But hatred is... There's dogs that she doesn't get on with, Khaleesi. But I don't think she hates them. Like, hate is... You could say, like, hatred in a way is seeking. It's like a rejection of what's happening. Whereas if you feel anger, or even if you feel jealousy, all these other emotions, they're just there, they're just happening. And hatred, you could say, maybe, I've never really spoken like this before, or maybe I have and I've forgotten. Hatred is the rejection of what's happening. You could say it's like hatred only arises with seeking. Like, that you need this stuff, and if you don't get it, you hate others for not giving it to you. And if you get certain things, you hate others, or you hate life for giving you that. It's like a rejection, the essence of it. Now, it's not anger. Like, I can feel anger with people, you know, like people treat you really badly, or when you're on the phone line to these call centers, or trying to get documents from your healthcare. Oh, God. Like, there can be anger that arises, but I don't hate the people for doing that. So I might get angry and reactive in the moment, but there's no hate in that. Like, anger is a feeling of boundaries being crossed. It's part of the way we interact and the way humans move. It's action anger. Whereas hatred is this something that exists in time, and it's like a deep rejection of what's happening. Like, they are to blame for my unhappiness. She is to blame for my unhappiness. I just suddenly felt touched then. I just suddenly felt like someone just came to mind of, yeah, maybe that's not appropriate to say. It's just really beautiful. Yeah. And there's nothing to reject here. That doesn't mean that you don't argue because your partner or your kids didn't do the washing up and you argue, you lose your temper, or there's a negotiation. But there is a deep knowing in that they're not to blame and you're not to blame. That there's a deep love in that, even in that. I remember with Roger Castillo, most of you maybe know Roger, was my teacher. I remember we were walking in the forest, or in the bush as they called it in Australia. I used to call it that all the time, I forgot that, the bush. And we were walking the dogs, and he was saying that anger does not negate freedom. And I was like, that's not true. It does, it does, it does. And we were sort of, like you could say, semi-arguing about that. And then I was walking along and I was feeling so angry with Roger, I think, if I remember the story correctly. I might reinvent it, it was so long ago. And I was feeling so angry with him, and then I suddenly had this massive pop where was that consciousness and this expansion happened, and there was this love, and yet I still felt anger with Roger. And then I was like, oh yeah, you could be free and angry, but not a hatred, because in that there was no hatred of Roger. There was just the body having these chemical reactions, no, blah, 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 blah. He was crossing boundaries, or I was crossing boundaries, or he was angry. There was an energetic resonance happening between us of anger, but there was no blame. And what he was saying at the time, which is really true, is that most of the time when most people, when they're angry with someone or they're angry with themselves, they also experience hatred. So they also experience this rejection of it, this blame, this guilt, this shame. And they can't untangle that, so they've only ever experienced anger with this deep sense of hatred, so it doesn't make sense, which is maybe the case for me when I was arguing with him. And I even remember him arguing, I think, with Ramesh about this, saying you can't experience fear and be free. You can't experience anger and be free. Which he then ate his hat, just like I ate my hat. That often happens to us. We all have to eat many hats in our lifetime. It's surprising that we all don't have lots of hats in our apartments. That really didn't make sense. I'm sorry. I was just imagining us pooing out the hats and then, having lots of hats all around the apartment. But my imagination ran away, and then what came out was a little odd. We eat our hats. We eat our hats. So what you're always looking for is this moment. There is nothing that can take you out of this moment. Even if you are lost in time and lost in hatred and lost in rejection and lost in delusion, you can't ever leave it. It's so annoying. You're like, okay, take out this moment. Let's get away from this moment. Let's get somewhere else. You can't. You're always here. And you could say that this moment in life is always supporting. It never is rejecting. Your essence is never in rejection. And you can see that hatred is a lot about rejection. You could see it's seeking, rejecting this moment. So whatever happens to you is a gift, because that's what's happening. No matter how bonkers the story is, or how dramatic or annoying, it's what's happening. It's so funny because I got really conditioned, I got into spirituality young, and I got really conditioned into the hardcore spiritual stuff, non-duality. There was none of this being kind with psychology. It was machine gunning you. Psychology is very understanding and accepting of your behaviors and looking at them and seeing where they come from. There was none of that. It was really that is the mind, that is the mind, that is the mind. And I most probably present this stuff less extreme on the internet, but or maybe I do present it extreme enough, but really there's nothing that can take away your freedom. No matter what problems that you have, you can be in a prison. This is going to sound terrible, and I've said this before. I'm not going to say that because I open up myself to being sued. You could be in a prison, you can be in a terrible situation, you can be beaten, you can be tortured, and there is freedom. It doesn't mean that won't be painful, but it's not taking away presence. Presence is here and presence is free. You can have very difficult family at Christmas, you can have very difficult family interactions, but presence is free. Presence is free. It's here. And it's not about what your body feels. So for me, energetically, if I'm with a lot of family and they have a lot of suffering, then energetically that could be super tiring for my body. But there's another part that's free beyond that. So right here, it's not about feeling. It's not about thought. This total emptiness. It's not about you getting to this, just here. It's like, in a way, absolute craziness, absolute surrender. It's beyond all your thinking, it's beyond you getting, it's beyond what you can do. It's beyond how you can keep it. It's just here. Nice. Nice, nice, nice. Is there anything else I want to say on this matter? Yeah, no. So if you would like to call in, please just put call me. Don't put anything after call me, because then I can see it. So I look at the Skype box and then I can see it clearly that says call me. And I will take president for calls. I think that's the way you say it. I just go through phases, and lately I enjoy talking to people on the on Skype. Yeah. And my Skype address is LisaCairns12. And you can just send me a friend request and I'll accept it, I think, pretty quickly. Yes, so put call me. Don't just call, because we're not in sync. I'm something like 10 seconds ahead of you. Yeah. And if you want to call in, remember you've got to have a headset, good internet connection. Yeah, and if you don't normally use Skype, then you can do a test Skype, which you find, go up to settings and then go audio and video settings. And then you will see test audio, make free test call. So if you go to that, cool. I'm a little bit hot. I've made a mistake sitting in this jumpsuit. I'm in a wool jumpsuit, but I can't get out of it now because it's like a onesie, so I can't just really strip off. So I'm a little bit blushed. That's the way of it. Hi, Asborn. Nice to hear from you, Asborn. I was thinking about you yesterday. I should write to say hello. Hi, Carmela. Lots of love and gratitude to you, Lisa. Wishing you the happiest of holidays too. Ah, thanks, Carmela. Hi, Israel. I'm sorry to hear that, Isabel. And I send you lots of love in return. I just put that to you, Isabel, because I can't bother to write this part. Like, that bit was private. But the next part is, because if you don't write to me, I won't remember. Basically, you can think of my mind like a sieve, and then like you pour sand into it. Has benefits. It means that like I can if I have an argument with you or a disagreement with you, I can barely remember it the next day, like barely. But so that's the benefit of the non-benefit of it is that practically I'm not so good on certain things unless it's written down. Hi, Kate. I like the picture of you singing. There seems to be non-dual teachers saying that the thing that's happening in the society at the moment doesn't exist. Do you agree? Hope this finds you well, and thanks for the live stream. The problem is, Kate, is that you most probably think this is really sci-fi and this is really far-fetched. But if I speak about that subject on my live streams, they get blocked from people. It's not quite like that. What they do is they suppress the video. They've got algorithms that go through the video. So every video that goes onto YouTube, the way that they, like maintain that like really bad stuff isn't put on YouTube, they have algorithms that go through it and scan particular words. And there's something about me, maybe I'm already like a bit of a red flag. And then there's something about me that if I say swear words and if I say like certain words, then I get suppressed, which is okay. I don't mind that, but I don't know what would happen in the long run if I keep doing it, like video after video. Whether the account will be investigated or what will happen, which again is okay. So what it means is that I'm going to have to talk about things in code words because they're not intelligent enough yet to be able to distinguish these code words. So what's happening in society at the moment, not the Brexit thing, which is quite intense for all us English people, but there's something else that's happening in the world, which I'm sure most people are aware of. So I'm going to call that what should I call it? I'll call it cup. I'm just going to call it cup. So if you're tuning in after I've told you this, you're going to be like, what is this woman on? She's mad. So I'm going to call it cup. And then there's another thing where like some animals are like put in pens so they don't mix with other animals or they don't get endangered. So you could say that like we're all put in pens at the moment, and I'm going to call that postcard. So the cup is the first thing and the postcard is the second thing. So I can call it those two words. I'm so sorry, that's really confusing. So the cup is what's actually happening to us, and the postcard is like similar to animals being put in pens so they don't mix with each other. Like so the pigs don't mix with the cows and the cows don't mix with the horses. I think that the algorithm will not pick this up. So we got the postcard, which means that, and then the cup, which means the other. So nothing exists. So of course it doesn't exist. From a non-dual perspective, Kate, the cup doesn't exist and the postcard doesn't exist. There is just what's happening. All of that is in the world of known. And we use these words in order to identify meaning. So we put combinations of words together in order to kind of like have a sense of communal meaning about something. So by the way of me saying, I love music, you know all of that because you know that music means sound, you know that it doesn't mean quiet, you know that it means beat, you know all these things of what music are, and you know what love is because it's not hate, it's not rage. So we use these words as identifiers. They're not actually it. So music isn't actually music. Love isn't actually love. It's our way of communicating. If you're bilingual, or if you then often you can get a better sense of this, of how language really doesn't mean anything. It's our way of communicating, and it's all like signposts pointing to meaning, and everybody's interpretation of things will be different. So one person's interpretation of love will be so different from another's. And this is why sometimes relationships can be hard, because meaning is down to interpretation. And there's some things that point more heavily to something. So you could say some things are more factual, but that doesn't mean that there is fact. Everything is still a pointing. It's not that there is a fact, but there's some things that are more factual and there's some things that are less factual. Like, so say the banana is yellow, that maybe it's more factual than that person is angry. So that's on the ultimate level, it is all illusion. On the human level, then this comes to our personal views, and that hasn't got anything to do with non-duality. So then we have personal views, and there's a lot of people that are into, I can't quite say this word either because that will also get me flagged. Some people that are into like the flat earth is maybe some people think that's truth, but if it's not truth, then it's so some people think that the cup is, who knows? I mean, I don't know. In the human world, I get told that that's happening out, but I can't see, like in my environment, I really don't see much change except the shop shutting and not being able to leave places or go places. So I don't know about that on the human level. My intuitive feeling is that there is something very wrong about postcard. Very wrong about that. And whether the cup is happening or not, the postcard, my personal belief is that this is very dangerous for society to go down that route. But a lot of people argued that. Like, I know my friends, I said that to my friends and that aren't into spirituality, like the friends from childhood, and there was just no response. And I think that a lot of people think that if you say that about the postcard, that the postcard is dangerous to society, they think that you're uncaring or unloving. I just think that you shouldn't give your government that much control. That's like, and I really appreciate what Sweden's done, even though in Sweden they've had difficulties with that and there is lots of people judging that. I really appreciate that the government have really tried their best not to do the postcard, because I mean, that's, I presume, if you looked at it in detail, that's the beginning of like dictatorships. I really think that's a really hard thing, and I would hate to be in the government and a leader and make these decisions. But I really, really intuitively feel, my personal view, the postcard is not a good idea. Whether the cup is happening or not is really, don't know what's happening. I mean, it's all bizarre. I'm most probably from the generation that really doesn't believe news outlets. So I think a lot of people now don't because of the internet, but I've never been of the trusting of news outlets. I've seen it firsthand where stories can be really twisted. I mean, even if you think about like ex-partners that you've had, and then if you've ever heard like your ex-partners like recounting a story that happened between you, like it's like sometimes, depending on how conscious that person is, like sometimes it can be really shocking. And even though they're using events that happened, it's like really wildly different to what actually happened. But that's their interpretation. And that's the same with news outlets. Just because they're like paid and like work for an organization, it doesn't mean that they are trustworthy. They still have their personal view and personal agenda and their conditioning and their habits. The other thing that I would say about the cup is that I think it's really bad to scare people that much, like health-wise. I think psychologically that's really damaging. Like imagine, we do this with airplane crashes. Like every time there's an airplane crash, we put it all over the news. But imagine if they did that every time there was a car crash. Like if you think of, it's like, I think it's really negative for the mentality and for the body and very unhealthy. Like if you imagine it with thoughts, like if you keep thinking about car crashes all the time, it's not going to make your body feel good. It doesn't mean that I can see the point in news reporting negative things, but I think that the news should be a lot more positive, because there's a lot more positive things happening as well. And I think this repetition of the media is dangerous for people's health as well. And I think that we'll see a surge in like mental health issues, also taking away people's ability to earn money. So mental health issues and illnesses. It also like puts the seed into you. I'm from the belief, like I'm a fan of like law of attraction. I'm from the belief that you know, like if you keep obsessing about something, you can create it. Make it worse in yourself. Like if you keep thinking, I've got cancer, I've got cancer, I've got cancer, then in a way it's like that stress that you're giving yourself, and most probably scientifically they could prove this, like that stress and that negativity maybe makes you more receptive to illness and maybe more receptive to the growth of cancers. I think that we shouldn't shame people though for illnesses. Like everybody's going to get ill and die, and it's not always that the mind creates the illness. Like it's also part of life, and death is beautiful. The transformation into another form is beautiful. Like, so if you're ill, I'm not saying it's because of your mind and the way you thought. Like death is a part of this life, and all of us have to endure that. So that would be my opinion. Postcard, very dangerous. Very dangerous. Cup, I don't know. What I do feel like I know is that putting that much fear onto a society is not good. Thank you for your question, Kate. It's on everyone's mind. If you've just joined and you wonder what cup and postcard is, then you're going to have to rewind and listen to my explanation. Hi, Lisa. What happens in the significant pauses in your dialogue? Do you go into deep no mind? Are you projecting love? Are you leaving space for words you spoke to be processed by the listeners and sinking in? Or is it just a mystery? All range of things. Sometimes I just forget that I'm talking. Like I don't have an audience in front of me. I just have a computer. So I'm just like, you know how like when you're sitting there by yourself working on the computer, sometimes you just forget what you're doing. And just like, Sometimes I go off into thinking about something. Sometimes there's like loads of love ushing out. Like I say certain things and then loads of love is like, so all different things. Often though, I think it's because I forget that I'm doing a talk, which could be related to non-duality in a way. Like I think my mind got worse. So it could be like going into no mind. I don't know though, like my mind's really shocking. Thank goodness for my partner who can remind me of things, and my phone. And Khaleesi actually. She helps me. Oh, thanks, Nix, for the rainbows. Beautiful. More and more complex. How are you going to top yourself next time? Hi, Gerald. Gerald. Hi, Gerald. Nice to meet you on here. Hi, Adam. And please, if you want to call in, like I think I would really enjoy speaking with you. So please call me. Just call me, nothing else after it, so I can see it clearly on my Skype chats, and I would really enjoy to speak to you. Oops. Hi, Adam. Hi, Lisa. Is seeking the same as desire? There is a huge amount of desire in me, just wanting more and more stuff, can never be satisfied. Any comment from you? Many thanks. So we have like a natural, I tend to say natural desire, like a natural movement or natural wants. to go to the toilet, to drink, to have a house, to have shelter, to walk the dog, to have exercise. So we have these natural wants, and then we have the seeking on top, which takes those natural wants and then like exaggerates them. So it's like, maybe if you want the house, like you want the best house and it has to look like this and it has to be this, and there's like lots of seeking energy around it and lots of despair around it. But if you want the lover, there's like lots of seeking to get lots of dopamine hits, like being in love all the time and taking them on a lavish dates and spoiling them and doing all these different games which give you lots of hits of dopamine, but it's like a lot very seeking energy, or like running away from negative things that happen. Yeah. So the body has desire, or the body has momentum. Buddhism, they used to call it craving, like it's the seeking energy, like the belief that it will make you happy. So whatever you've got right now is enough. Doesn't mean that me and my partner are buying a house. It doesn't mean that we don't buy a house, but this is enough also. Even though sometimes I can get frustrated, like we're in very small spaces and we both work from home, so sometimes it can be frustrating and there's like an urge like to want to speed up the process. Like it's really, this is enough now, like your freedom is now. And I'm talking very small space, and both of us. Yeah. Okay, I need the toilet now. I will be back. Khaleesi will look after you while I'm gone. You can watch Khaleesi. Aww. You didn't stay there? You didn't stay? Oh, you're so sweet, Lucy. She didn't stay. Okay. Oh. Hello. Hey, Carol, there's a problem. Hey, Carol, can you hear me? Yeah, okay. I just call you back in a moment because there's just a problem with my audio. So I just call you back in a second, okay? Thanks, Carol. Bye. Okay, guys, I'm just going to go and put my waiting loop on while I ask my partner how to fix this. Bye. Okay. Okay, it's working now. Again, just switch it on and off and it works. Okay. Let's go.
Hey, is it Lisa?
Yeah, it's Lisa. Yeah, sorry about that. It's working now.
No problem. Listen, I just want to find out from you, is the audio quality okay? Otherwise,
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, it is
if
actually.
it's not good for your audience.
No,
Is
it's
it?
good.
Okay.
Yeah, it works this time. Like I always say that people need headphones, but today it's okay.
Okay. It's a bit surreal speaking to you again.
Yeah, nice to hear
awesome
from you.
as well.
Yeah, long time.
Yeah, it has been a while. Still doing my roller coaster ride all over the show. But I actually just wanted to ask you, I've been trying to figure out what on earth is going on with life for a substantial period of time. But the one thing I've actually come to realize is that I have really, really difficult family dynamics. And that those family dynamics that I grew up with actually contributed to me being pretty messed up psychologically. So on the human level, that has been a real challenge for me most of my life.
Yeah.
Then getting into non-duality, and for some reason, since the very first moment I actually heard about it, or I've always known, but I know, but I don't know.
Yeah.
So there's been this incredible resonance from the moment I connected with anybody that I can sense has got a different consciousness that they actually engage with life. I can feel those people, but I know, but I don't know. So, but I actually deeply, deeply understand how I'm actually projecting the world I live in. If I'm not wrong. Is that
Sorry, just say that last sentence again.
That I'm actually projecting the world I live in. So if I project a world of discomfort for myself, if I experience discomfort, it's like my projection. And I've actually realized that basically I'm stuck. I'm completely stuck in trying to understand how to negate certain things, because on the human level, I do understand that I need to say no to actually say, like, abusive situations within my family setup. I need to say no. And I still struggle incredibly much to people please. and to actually dance at their whims. And I don't know anymore, because when I stand up for myself and I'm trying to be more loving to myself, I'm invariably less loving to them. And I don't know if you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
It's this catch-22 that I find myself in. But I also know that ultimately my goal is like I love this thing that Jack Cornfield said, is like, our goal is not to perfect ourselves, it's to perfect our love. So if I need to perfect my love, then when do I choose between myself, trying to actually get to a place of greater love for myself, and when do I choose to actually sacrifice myself to actually, out of kindness, to to do kindness to somebody else, because otherwise they feel hurt.
Yeah.
So how do you know how to negotiate all these things in life?
Yeah, I don't think I'm the best for asking this to, because I still struggle with family members where it's the same here. Like I don't know how you navigate it well. It's complex because you kind of have these awakenings and you have these shifts, but you're shifting and awakening in a society that is based on identification.
That's exactly the problem. Yeah.
So I think it's like it's something that I think that maybe some spiritual teachers have worked out, but I still haven't worked that part out. Like from the absolute perspective, like if you've got family members that are difficult, then from the absolute perspective, you are free. Like there is just love here.
Absolutely, yeah.
Like
it
is love.
But
in
I
the
feel very
human
free
world,
when I.
Yeah. Sorry, carry on.
No, sorry. No.
I forgot what I was going to say now. You can go now.
No, I was going to say, I know that I'm free and I feel very free when I don't need to interact with them. And that is what I find so ironic about, and I can't say this way or that way. I mean, I was actually having quite a bit of a laugh at your cup and postcard situation. Because I think I have developed severe antisocial sort of dynamics as well. And I struggle to engage with people.
Yeah.
And I feel so free with the whole postcard situation. It's like I'm happy. It's like the reason I've been praying for all my life is that I can just be left alone now.
Yeah.
Give me my space, and I don't. It's like it's the perfect excuse, because I find it so difficult to say no time and time and time again.
Yeah.
And now I can just I don't have to say no. Life said no on behalf of me. And suddenly I'm finding such a great freedom in what a lot of people are struggling with. So I don't know. I think
there's sorts of practices that you can do that help you with these dynamics, and then help you find ways to navigate it. But I think it's always going to be complex, like awakening in a society that's identified. Like I don't think there are some teachers that claim to have worked it out, but for me, like if you're interacting with someone that's got no idea about spirituality, like if their dynamic, say, is something of feeling like unloved or not seen or unheard, then they're just going to keep repetitively acting that out, and there's nothing you can really do to stop them. You can maybe engage with them in more healthy ways, but those healthy ways might really help them, hurt them, but it also might change things. So if you've got somebody that's say speaks a lot and doesn't listen to you, and maybe their dynamic is that what they feel underneath is they feel not heard, and so what you might have grown up in childhood to do is to listen to them endlessly. So it's like you disappear and don't exist, and then they just get heard, but then it never gets fulfilled. They always will endlessly speak to try to be heard. But what you could do is you could maybe bring it up in a very I mean, I'm not an expert in this, and there's maybe lots of psychologists that are out there saying how to do it, but that way better than I can, videos that you can watch. But you could maybe try and bring it up and explain to them that you would like to be listened to a bit more or something, and this might change things. It could also create a big drama, and then you could then you'd have to look at that. But like, so there's different things. Like, so if you keep like bringing it up that you would like to be listened to, like, without blaming, without like shaming them, but just saying, and these sorts of things can shift things. But at the same time, if they're not interested in psychology and if they're not interested in spirituality and healing themselves, then there's always going to be a communication issue. There's always going to be, like this kind of compromise that you have to do with yourself in a way.
Okay. Now, it's sort of like, it's a bit comforting for me just to touch base with you and sort of hearing what you say.
Yeah.
Because I have found that, I've been a psychologist and psychiatrist half my life, trying to figure out why is things just not working, because it just doesn't seem to work. And I am starting to have a lot of insights into my if you get raised and live in a family, like a family dynamic that's very screwed up, trust me, you're not going to escape it. You're going to be as screwed up too.
Yeah, you get and if you didn't get your needs met, then like that's a very physiological thing. Like that's very much in your body.
Yeah.
Like it's not something conscious that you're choosing or not choosing. Like often people think you could just choose to act differently, but it can be very, if you're not in your first couple of years, if you're like abandoned a lot by your parents, or your parents are drug addicts, or all types of different things. I just want to say before we go on this conversation, just to be conscious about that this is being on the internet to other people, because I don't want you to expose yourself and traumatize yourself in any way.
I'm actually beyond that. I'm actually completely okay in terms of I've been through enough of that, and I do appreciate you warning me or telling me. But I am totally open to be as open as I honestly don't care in terms of.
There's not so many people that listen to it, but just saying it because.
No, but it's like, I think, I appreciate you, but I'm totally okay with being as open as. Basically, the more open I am, the more I can get from you in terms of advice or just guidance, or just like, what do you call that word?
Reconciliation.
Yeah, that one. We both know the one we're saying. Yeah, so that one. So the thing is, just my problem that because I've actually looked deeply at my own psychology and my family's psychology to really try and understand how things can work better. The problem that I have is that from a psychological point of view, that's not linked to non-duality. You often get, like, on the human level, the advice to actually just like cut contact or get the people out of your life. But the problem is, when I don't need to see them, I'm happy. When I am forced into a situation when I need to deal with them, I'm always unhappy. And from a psychological point of view, I'm actually guided, and my gut actually guides me basically to then cut contact. However, I actually see from a non-dual perspective that that's not always a very loving sort of dynamic.
I think in non-duality is indifferent. From a non-dual perspective, like consciousness is watching whether you cut contact or not. Like it's pure love, and it doesn't have any judgment on that.
So I wouldn't have to feel guilty that I'm actually hurting them if they need to have contact, and feel very hurt if I don't. Is that more like their stuff that they need to look at? Why they have this?
Yeah, this gets into complex ground, and I don't want to influence you in any way in this, because cutting contact or not cutting contact with people is huge, and I don't actually have an agenda. Like I don't think that you should or you shouldn't. I really don't know what your story is, and I don't have an opinion. But like guilt there's different like layers to guilt. So if I were to say, run over somebody's dog, then there would be instantaneous like guilt and regret. So that would be something that arises in the moment, when you see that, or you see the dog in pain. There could be guilt, there could be regret, there could be all types of complex feelings. But then, then there's also a deep knowing that I couldn't have done anything else in that situation. I couldn't have been anything else. And that's more the non-dual perspective, like this deep knowing that you couldn't have been anything else than what you are in that situation. But it's important that we have these initial reactions, because this is what helps us survive in a society. So it's important that there is a form of guilt when you act badly with people. But that guilt is dependent on your conditioning. That guilt is dependent on the way the society's conditioned you, and it's also dependent on your biological makeup as well. The suffering element comes when you deeply believe that. So that's a response that happens in the moment, and then the suffering comes when it's believed that you are guilty. There is nobody that's guilty, and there's also nobody that's to blame. So from a non-dual perspective, it would be more that it's, you know, if you cut them off, then that's what's happening. And yeah, there might be guilt or sadness in seeing them hurt, but at the same time, you couldn't have done it any different. And that's the perfect play of things. So that would be more from the non-dualistic perspective.
Yeah, I think you've been actually unbelievably helpful in sort of making me realize that I need to understand my guilt better.
Yeah.
As opposed to, that's actually something that I need to unpack more, is my whole guilt dynamic, and to actually work on that. And the fact that I think what's sort of the light bulb that went on now while you were talking is that I think I still have my own judgments on what I think. Like when you said, like I don't know, it's like actually not the right way of talking, but to say like non-duality is indifferent, life is indifferent, is that I'm still actually projecting what I think life should look like, or what I think, you know, like a happy family unit or like love should look like. It's like my own projections that I'm bringing to the party, and that those things are actually things I need to work with a bit more.
Yeah, totally. That's really good to examine that and to explore that, and explore like your idea of responsibility, because that can often be a trauma as well, like feeling too responsible for other people's feelings. So these types of things are really good to examine.
That's like, where do I go with it? It's like, do you know how much I mean, every time I think I've like walked 1,000,000 miles, I realize there's another million to go.
Then
At the same time, I also realize that we're not going anywhere anyway. So,
because also these are also habits that are responding. So it's also like you can give them time, and you can explore them. But then it's also seeing that that's also like a habit. Like in the end, that's not going to be your freedom. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you laughing.
No. I just think it's so funny because it's so complicated, and it's that's the word, reassuring. It's just so reassuring to know that you also don't have the cat bag necessarily, and that you also still struggle to basically, negate all these different dynamics within being a human, while at the same time also realizing that life is so different to the way that we're going around playing with it in our society. It's like, So you are magical. Do you have any idea what a gift you are to so many of us?
Wow, I really don't think about that. That's a really kind thing to say, but I really don't think about that. That would be really confusing.
You don't have to think about it because but your brain's like a sieve, so I'll tell it to you. So you don't have to think about it. I'll just keep saying it whenever I do have contact. Listen, Lisa, you are so awesome. I mean it when I say I don't touch base with you that much, because I also realize that any sort of non-duality teacher can just become the next addiction. So I've had to like put you on the back burner at times, but I have picked you up from time to time. And I just want to say thank you for what you do for so many of us. Honestly, you are so gorgeous and such a gift.
Oh, that's very sweet, Carol. I wish you lots of love, and say hello to your husband. I've forgotten his name, but I remember him from the retreat. He was very sweet.
I'll do that. You take care of yourself, and
lots
big hugs to Khaleesi, and we'll definitely connect again sometime.
Thank you.
Take care of yourself. Bye. Okay, wishing you the best. Bye. Bye.
Nice. So is there anyone else? So if you just call me in Skype, don't put anything else after it, and then I can see it through all the messages, because I get quite a few messages. But thanks, Carol, for calling. So Kate Allen replied. She was the one that got me into the whole cup and the postcard. Thank you, Lisa. That's much more spacious, calm view than I've been coming across. Oh, okay, nice, Kate. Yeah, I don't know, basically, the end is. Even what I said about the postcard, you know, that's my feeling, is that it's not good to give governments that control, but then I don't know. And then also at the same time, it's not happening. We're just here. There is no world. There is no postcard or cup. We are just here. Yeah. Nice, thank you. Hi, Beth. Lots of love to you, Beth. So lovely to hear from you. It feels really nice seeing people on Skype and on live streams, you know, that I've met in person. Like, I really like that. Hi, Linda. Hi, Lisa. I love your live streams. Thank you. Oh, thank you, Linda. Might unusual surges of physical energy be part of an awakening story? Yes, for sure. But that's no diagnosis. Like, so if you're having weird things happen with your body, you know, always get checked out by the doctors. I can't guarantee it, but my God, I would have days of shaking energy coming through my body. I'd have rage coming through my body, sweats coming through my body, all types of things. That's what is being experienced here sometimes lately. It comes as unusual times. For example, after a long work week of physical labor, when I'd normally feel very tired, I feel a bit psycho and agitated at these times, as if I'm high or something, when I haven't taken anything. I have to go for a run or dance around the house for an hour, but I still don't feel settled afterwards. If you have any comment, I'd love to hear them. Thanks, Linda of BC, Canada. I speak to a lot of people from BC. I wonder if it's because Eckhart Tolle lives there, and there must be a lot of people that he has that are followers there, and maybe it like spread. But yeah, maybe I should like start a group for people from BC, like lots. That's nice. I also have relatives there. My aunt lives and my cousins live in BC. They live in Vancouver, BC, yeah. So I've been there quite a few times and really appreciate it. It's a very beautiful part of the world, very underpopulated. Vancouver is very populated now, but yeah, it's a beautiful part. So yeah, for sure. So my recommendation would most probably to do less screen time and do stuff like yoga to settle the energies, Kundalini stuff, chakra meditation. You can find that on my website to settle your energies down. But yeah, for sure, like Kundalini awakening isn't the freedom, but Kundalini awakening is like this change in the body. So it's like the enlightenment of the body, like opening up your chakras and changing your energetic system. And, you know, all types of weird things can happen. But yeah. So yoga is really good for grounding you, like yin yoga. I love yin yoga. You know, you don't even have to go to classes anymore. You can just do an online class. You can do online yoga videos. I think you'll find that very settling. And try not to, you know, like eat or, you know, binge or do all these not so drink alcohol things that are so, you know, not so good for us. Thank you, Linda, for your question. So if you want to call in, which I really appreciate, just put call me. Oh, look, I'm not in the screen. That's funny. Sorry, guys. Didn't realize I wasn't in the screen. That shows that I'm not just staring at myself the whole time, talking to myself. Hi, Izzy. I do go in and check in to make sure I'm every so often. I'm in and my audio is working as well. So this is from Thomas. Hi, Lisa. Postcard and cups. It's smart to stay critical of these things. I think we need government, but not more fear and control measures, aka the halogen dialect. Problem, reaction, solution. Yeah. Hi, Brian. Hi, I'm on a flight. Hi, Lisa. I'm on a flight to see some family in the US right now. Got Wi-Fi. How can we meet our family in a way that is conductive to awakening? That's super cool. You got Wi-Fi up there. I really dislike flying. Yeah, it's really not good for my body. I feel like, when you come out of flying, you get those water bottles that are like all the air has been crushed out of them and it's like, they're like flattened. I'm like that in an aeroplane. So nice, but maybe you enjoy it. So a lot of people are asking these questions because I presume a lot of people are seeing family if the postcard isn't stopping that. For a lot of people, it's stopping that. So there's always that saying, if you want to work out if you're truly enlightened, then go and spend time with your family. And for me, spending time with my family, I realized I'm not truly enlightened. I'm not truly enlightened on the human level. Like I find that challenging too. Like there's different things that you can do. You can go deeply into meditation when you're with them, so deeply into presence, deeply into consciousness without rejection of your feeling. So feeling the pain that arises with them, deeply into meditation. But just be aware when you do that, you become passive. And sometimes with other humans, you need to erect firm boundaries. And I have a tendency towards passivity. Even though I seem really dominant, when I get triggered, my way is to become passive. You'll actually even see me do that with callers. And people are like, wow, she's so enlightened. But it's actually my way of dealing with like people that are crossing my boundaries, is I can go very passive. I do actually go into meditation in that situation, but it would be good if my body naturally responded more to stop that, but it doesn't. So I have to remind myself, which is hard when you're like going deeply, when there's like deep presence arising, to remind yourself, like, stop it. Yeah. Like my problem in the family was I was a listener. So I listened to people, and I'm a great listener, and I think it makes it great for doing sessions and stuff. But what it does is I got a bit deconditioned from erecting boundaries, in the right moment. So it's not natural. So I have to remind myself to do it. And you remind yourself by your body. Like if your body's feeling angry or if it's feeling sore, then that is a bell. That's not always a bell for me. So I can be conscious of the pain in the body, but it's still not always a bell for me to do something. And then also in doing it, I find it really hard to do it because I can see their pain and I can feel their pain, of rejection. So it's trying to, find boundaries that are kind to others. You don't need to be mean to others, and you take responsibility for yourself. So I don't go like, you're doing that. I do sometimes, but you're doing this. Like, I feel tired now. I feel over-talked now. Like, not you're over-talking, like trying to, you can also do that. I mean, I'm far out. I don't get it right. I need time to my space now. I get exhausted, if they laugh at you or make fun of you, like just holding that, like feeling the pain of it. And then also like seeing that they're doing it from their pain body. They're doing it from their suffering. Like it's really impersonal. They're doing it from the way they're conditioned. But yeah. And just like go easy on yourself, everybody. It's okay to be reactive and have these family dynamics. Like we set up this enlightenment and we're always like, got to get to this enlightenment, got to be perfect. And often, especially if you've been put into that passive role, or you tend to be passive in the family, then you want to be enlightened so you can carry on passivity. I know I did that big time. Like so after that big awakening I had, like I could get so blissed out just going into meditation very quickly, and I used that to be really passive with people. In one way I'm really dominant, I'm really proactive, but I can also slip into this passivity in certain triggers. And when I became a teacher, it was really quick, and you have to assert boundaries, because otherwise if you don't, what gets through is not the passive people that are sitting in the background. They won't push themselves onto you. What will get through is people that are maybe very needy and wanting to take a lot of things from you. And if you're a teacher and there is these people that are very pushy and you've got lots of them, this is really exhausting eventually. And what I was doing was going into passivity to deal with it. Yeah. And that was not healthy. I had to go through a massive learning curve where I made many mistakes. I hurt people from being passive, and I got hurt from people taking too much. And I really had to learn that. I really had to learn about erecting dynamics, and that going into meditation, not meditation, but going into who you truly are doesn't fix your human body necessarily. It can do, but it doesn't necessarily fix your responses. If at 1 year old you got taught that you can't have needs, that your mother's needs are more important than you, which it should be the other way around, that it is so deeply biologically ingrained into you. And so therefore for the rest of your life, more than likely, you're going to have to think about it to reteach your body, and it maybe never for the rest of your life come naturally. That is so important those first few years. So you have to actually think about it. Is this person taking too much? You can actually feel it on a bodily level when someone's taking too much from you. But if you're really deeply going into no self, like your mind, you're not in the thinking mind. So even if there is pain, there's absolutely no rejection of it. So it's like this really amazing dance of like going into the story, but also like that bliss of no story. And just really learning about yourself. Like mine is, if I get triggered, I go into passivity, so freezing or not acting, you could say, and a pleasing. And that is often in not acting because the person wants to be listened to or the person wants to have all the space. So the pleasing is like not responding. And that's so strong in my body to do those two types of things. And sometimes people write to me, and this is where I feel sad, like the projections that people have on me. They say, you're so kind or you're so patient, but sometimes it's because I'm being triggered. Like, and I'm not even conscious that I'm being triggered, but after the conversation, I can feel it in my body that there was something not right in the dance. And then I watch it back and I can see that I've gone too passive. And it's something I have to always remind myself, am I being too passive here? In other areas of my life, I'm so proactive and I'm so like honest with people. I tell people how I feel, which seems feel to other people like really dominant in a way, because if you're really upfront and know what you feel, and then other people are insecure, then that can feel really dominant. It doesn't feel dominant to me, but I can see how it's seen like that. Like I'm really confident, I really don't care, I really don't care about burping or farting or falling over in front of others or making a fool of myself. Even though that's painful, I really don't. There's another part that really doesn't care. But I do have this dynamic where I can go too passive with people, and then if that other person that like they're getting triggered, so when you go passive, they're getting triggered to like control or to own or to grab from you, then it's not healthy. Let me just make sure that this is all still working and I'm still in shot. Yes. So it's like a gentle dance, and I haven't worked it out yet because like from another perspective, it's all divine. It's so blissful. Like the emptiness that's looking out now is totally at peace and free and expansive and alive. Yes. Yes. I'm also an empath, which confuses things. So if somebody wants something from me, because I'm an empath, I will feel that desire and I will want that for them too. That sounds really weird, but that's a complex one of being an empath. So if I'm around someone and someone has a strong want, I begin to want that. So if they want alcohol and I'm only now really beginning to notice the details between somebody else's want and my want, which is really complex to have that, as well as being, in childhood, not being taught to assert my wants and needs enough. So that's really complex. If someone else around me is angry, then I can feel that anger as if my own. And that's part of being an empath. Some people relate to that because they're also an empath. I think it's 20% of society, and then it's like a spectrum. And I'm really an emotional and physical empath. Someone feels pain, I will feel that. If somebody dislikes me, I will feel dislike for them. Like, it's not really like I dislike them as in thoughts. It's just like I feel that. Like if they dislike and push against, then I'll feel that. It's not all the time. It can be confused if there's lots of people around you. And then sometimes it can get mingled with my stuff. So interesting, all these things. But yes. Okay, my loves. That is enough for tonight. I wish you a very Merry Christmas. I shall see you next Sunday after Christmas. And I wish you everything that you possibly want from a deep level, not from the superficial level. Okay.